If you're in the pursuit of something that you're realizing, wait a minute, this is not what I actually want, just make sure that's your soul talking and not your fear and your ego trying to sabotage you.
Stepping into our full power and truly being seen for our gifts requires a lot of courage, strength, and determination. But sometimes we stop this from happening. This is called self-sabotage. Here to explore more with us is emotional healing coach and author Rebeccah Silence. Good to have you back.
Hello, Teri. So happy to be here talking about self-sabotage.
You know what? In all honesty, this is like one of my favorite topics to talk about, because I think so often this is like, I always tell that there's 5 top blocks that we get ourselves in the way of, and this is like number 1 for most people.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much that we have no control over, but this one we have 100% control over.
Yes. Okay. So some people might be self-sabotaging and not even knowing it. So unpack this for us.
So here are a few symptoms that mean you're self-sabotaging, even if you don't realize it. So if you are exhausted, if you are feeling stressed and pressure, if you are feeling like you're not enough or you can't, or like something is wrong with you, these are all signs that self-sabotage is in motion. And let's think about it like this. We can sabotage goals, we can sabotage relationships, we can sabotage our career, our finances, all these things. But we can also sabotage our self-concept.
Yes. Okay, say more about that.
So what I mean by that is, again, stress, pressure, suffering, all signs that you're doubting how powerful, how gifted, I love that word you used earlier. And let's all imagine, just for a moment, a life where you are seen for your gifts and for the powerful essence of you. That is not the rule, especially in our society, that people live by. The rule is, let's trauma bond. Let's talk to each other so that we can justify where we quit on the best of ourselves. And bottom line, you always have access to the best of you, and you always have the ability to make the best of any scenario. Now, this is not about positivity. I can't stand be positive talk, right? But there is always possibility. There is always possibility. And it's always possible to be your best and to make the best. And we can sabotage that, and we don't have to.
I agree 100%. And I think also, you know, if you can give like some specifics on how we can sabotage in kind of each area of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So in general, the easiest way is with our self-talk. And a lot of times people think that mindset and strategy work will get them where they want to go. And the reason why it can't by itself is because we can believe thoughts that convince us to stop ourselves, to stop our commitment, but even more, to stop our joy. The other big important thing to think about is we sabotage our ability to lean into our humanity and our emotions and to let our emotions guide us. What I mean by that is we get so used to feeling bad or receiving evidence that we can't, and we're also taught that the more you feel, the worse off you are. Instead of feel those emotions more so that you can find what is in alignment and get back to your gifts, your talents, your skills, and the best of you. So more specifically, if someone is wanting to sabotage their marriage, maybe all of a sudden you got locked in a home literally during COVID with your spouse and you're like, oh my God, what have I been doing for the last 20 years? Instead of lighting a match, blowing the whole thing up, we can look at this as an opportunity to reinvent. If now you've finally made some money after feeling broke your entire life, you can sabotage that by going, I don't get to have this money. I have to go back to being broke. Same thing with physical health goals or weight loss goals, right? We can sabotage ourselves by believing not just that we can't have something, but that we don't deserve it, or mistakenly believing that it's going to be too hard or not worth it to pursue. But the only thing to pursue is the life we want. And we have to stop quitting on our power and ability to create in any and all scenarios.
I agree with you. And I think also, like, when we are in this place of sabotage, I just recently I was on a phone call with a client, and she was sabotaging it. And honestly, like, we were on a Zoom call, and literally she asked for her, and what she's creating, it showed up for her.
Yeah.
And it's there. It's here, and I'm so excited for her, right? And she literally on the Zoom call put her hands up and says, "I don't deserve this." And I said, no. It's showing up because you're ready to receive it.
Right.
You've done the work. Now let's receive it, right? And
Absolutely.
so there's an element of, when we are sabotaging, and just being aware of when it's showing up, and how can we, support ourselves.
Yeah.
And really accept and receive
Absolutely.
when things show up.
Well, and how
just
do we
being
keep
aware.
going?
Yeah, and just being aware of that, right?
Well, and I think there's two things here, Teri, because we do what I like to call failure on our own terms, so that we can feel in control again. That's part of why we sabotage. Things feel out of control, uncomfortable. We don't know how to swim in this ocean. I'd rather get back to the little pond behind my house that I know the ocean feels too big.
Yes.
Right? So we'll fail on our own terms because we don't believe we can swim in these waters, and we want control again. But it's like cutting our nose off to spite our face, right?
Yes.
And the bottom line is, if you can swim, you can swim. Doesn't matter if it's a pond, doesn't matter if it's the ocean. And then the other big piece of this is there's always going to be this inevitable impasse that we arrive at. And it's the fork in the road that when you're almost there, you can go, almost is better than ever before.
Right.
It's really uncomfortable, so maybe I need to go down that comfortable path that I'm used to, instead of blazing this new trail that I don't know that I'm going to be able to maintain my footing on.
Yeah.
And at that moment, it's not a sign to quit or give up. It's a sign to create the evidence for yourself that you can.
Yes.
Don't even worry about, do I deserve this or not? Play a game like, I can, let me prove myself right, not wrong, that this is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that oftentimes when we are starting to go down that path and we are going into the unknown zone, that's where we, lose that footing. But if we can just, one of the things that I tell people all the time is that, when we get there, you'll know it because you start to feel, it creates anxiety, and I tell people, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go forward with this, even if I pee my pants.
Yeah.
Even
Breathe through the fear.
breathe through it, claim it as your own, and step forward with it with courage and determination, and just know that if you're having the thought, okay, if you've received that download, you're having that thought, you can handle it.
Absolutely.
Like, you can handle whatever else is going to be given to you.
Absolutely. And there is nothing outside of you more powerful than your ability to commit to yourself and to keep going. And I have a client, I'll never forget. Her mother had been very financially insecure and worried, and in a narrative that she was broke. And no matter how much money my client made, she kept believing that she was broke too, or that she couldn't get beyond where she had seen her mom. And I think this is a big part of self-sabotage, Teri, because we also often, and it's usually very unconscious, we don't want to do better than our parents. We don't want that guilt, that shame. We don't want our parents to feel bad or wrong. We keep ourselves limited to what we saw growing up, to the possibilities that our families of origin had, and then we maybe let ourselves get a little bit beyond it, but we don't let ourselves burst through that glass ceiling and create more some of the time. And man, do I want everybody watching to break through that glass ceiling. Model new for your families. Model new.
And giving yourself permission to do it.
Absolutely.
If you've had the thought, you have the capacity to do it, and just go do it. Go live your best.
No shame required.
Yes.
Show people it is possible. Don't wait for permission and your family system to have it or to agree with you. Go show them all.
And the bigger impact that we can have is when we step into our power, we give permission for everybody else around us to do the same.
Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
we can allow ourselves to step into that, and we give.
Yeah.
And so it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
So it's not only doing it for ourselves, but we're doing it for others as well.
Absolutely. And it's so cliche, right? But
Yeah.
you're either comfortable, which means you're stagnant and your spirit is dying.
Yes.
Or you're uncomfortably exploring what it means to be alive and getting more and more alive and pursuing growth. You can't have both.
Agreed. Yes. All right. This is a great stopping point. Let's come back and we'll talk a little bit more on what we can do to support ourselves in letting go of the need to self-sabotage. We'll be right back. What if I told you there's a simple yet scientific way to ensure success? This could be you starting to learn simple, proven, highly effective tools and strategies to attract more money, more clients, more freedom by reprogramming the way we think. Since 2017, we've been gathering women entrepreneurs and business owners to transform limiting beliefs and take action on achieving their wildest dreams. I'm hosting the Unlock Live event again this year. Join a community of like-minded women who are ready to be seen, to be heard for their powerful message that they are here to deliver. April 21st and 22nd in Denver. Read caption below for the early bird discount, and I can't wait to see you there. And we're back with Rebeccah Silence talking about self-sabotage. So, okay, a huge loaded question here.
Great.
What can we do to stop self-sabotaging?
Yeah. So you can decide to keep going even when your thoughts, emotions, resistance feels very convincing. Just keep going. And my tool is don't get too far ahead of yourself. Just find your next right choice. I love to say, Teri, there's not a right way or a wrong way to live your life. There's just what works for you.
Yes.
And so what I suggest is just find the next decision, even if it's to take a break and just light a candle and breathe and recenter.
Yes.
Even if it's, wait a minute, I thought this is the right thing to do, but everything in me is not going to let me do that. So what's a different next step that still keeps you in the direction that you want to be going in.
Yes.
And don't stop in the middle, because here's the secret. There is no staying stuck in the middle. If you don't keep going through that resistance and that inevitable impasse where you'd rather go back to comfort, you end up back where you started.
Yes.
So you're gonna have to start again. So when you're in the middle, just one more step, one more step. It's like how Shrek gets Donkey across the bridge in Shrek, right? He's just
One more
laughing,
step,
joking. Donkey's backing his booty up, and all of a sudden, they're across the bridge. You will get there if you just keep breathing, and if you just keep going, and if you don't give up.
Yes. And you know, there's a tool that I love helping support people. And actually, we don't have time to get into it today, but I am going to drop it into the tips, so make sure that you stay tuned to that. But also, for me, when I was speaking was not my thing, okay? And I kept sabotaging this process. I was digging my heels in long and hard. And so I just acknowledged what was happening for me. And for me, it was the emotional response of anxiety.
Yeah.
And I just gave her a name, Revy. And so when Revy shows up, and again, when we go back to our emotions, it is our internal guidance system that's guiding us, giving us information. It's so yummy. And it's not to be threatened by. And just acknowledging and saying hello to whatever that is. Give your self-sabotage a name.
Your truth, give it a voice.
Yeah, give it a voice, give it a name, acknowledge when she shows up, he or she, when she shows up. And I acknowledge her and I think, oh, Revy, she's showing up. Oh my gosh, she's helping me.
Yeah.
She's anxiety for me is a motivator, right? You know, it's important to have. So I acknowledge her and then I thank her. I give her some love, right? And I say, thank you, Revy, for showing up and having my back. I appreciate that. And then I tell her, Revy, I got this. And you know what? Just by acknowledging it, that intense emotion and the intensity around it, it just dissipates. And now me and Reverie, now be honest, like me and Reverie went through moments where she was like a defiant adolescent.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, now we're on friends terms. And now, you believe it or not, she rarely shows up. She's so lazy.
Well, you can always say, I love you. Thanks for trying to protect me.
Yes.
Time to take a time out in the
Yes.
corner because
Yes.
survival personality isn't required here.
Yes.
The truth of who I am is required here.
Yes.
And can I say something briefly about anxiety?
Yes, go
Because I
for
think
it.
this is very important. Anxiety is actually not your human emotions. Anxiety
Right.
is you rejecting your truth and your emotions and letting fear just get so loud that you can no longer see the forest through the trees. So it's real. But just know that the more you feed into anxiety with the understanding it is real, it is real, it is real, the more you're actually rejecting how capable you are. And you are so capable and you are so powerful and you are so deserving. And we can all change our mind.
Yeah.
If you're in the pursuit of something that you're realizing, wait a minute, this is not what I actually want. Just make sure that's your soul talking and not your fear and your ego trying to sabotage you.
So I'm going to invite all the listeners to just take a moment right now, put your hand on your heart and close your eyes and just ask this question. What do I know that I know? And whatever comes to you is that inner knowing, that inner guidance, that inner element of your voice that's coming to life and saying, yes, this is what I know to be true. So often we don't listen to the inner wisdom,
Right.
the inner knowing that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are here to do great things. If you have a body on this planet at this moment, you have purpose. And it's really stepping back into that purpose and your
Absolutely.
power and allowing yourself for your potency to be seen on this planet.
Absolutely. And I write about this in my book, how to, because sometimes what sabotages us is past trauma and past heartbreak.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't even realize we're
Totally
in a pattern
unconscious.
or we're triggered. And I write about how to heal through that survival mode and that survival personality to decide who you are going to be now. I don't think we wake up one day and now I know who I am. It's
Right.
a decision,
Yes.
right, to look at life and to understand it's a blank canvas and you can create and live as the person you choose to be now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. This has been most delightful.
Yes.
Where can people connect with you?
Sure. So you can definitely check out my book, Coming Back to Life, anywhere books are sold. And please visit RebeccahSilence.com. There's also a free trigger trauma release masterclass available at RebeccahSilence.com. Find me on Instagram at Rebeccah Silence, and we look forward to coming back again, Teri. And
Yes.
thank you so much for having me today. And everyone watching, just know you can come alive. You can come back to life. And self-sabotage is you choosing to contribute to less of a life, and you don't ever need to do that.
Absolutely.
More
Ugh,
life.
so good, so good. Thank you, Rebeccah. Thank you,
you.
everyone, for tuning in. As always, be bold, be brave, be fearless, be the magic of you. Massive love to all of you. Teri's wisdom tips. Tip number 1, we are given everything for this lifetime to be successful. Every thought, every idea is given to us because we are capable of seeing it through. Trust the process. Tip number 2, when self-sabotage shows up, give him or her a name, acknowledge her presence, and say thank you. Our emotions are our internal guidance system giving us information. Tip number 3, grab my self-sabotage clearing exercise at talkingwithteri.com/mindset today. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell to find out about my upcoming shows. Thank you for tuning in today, and I'll see you next time.